Very rarely do I call for an actual video game remake. I think a lot of video games hold up perfectly fine, and usually when people ask for remakes, it could pretty much just be a remaster. Like, a lot of times it just comes down to, I don't like game, not pretty enough. But when it comes to Fable, Jill and I have been playing through this game recently.
Hi, I'm Jill.
And we actually finished the game. We're working on a full review of it since I grew up playing Fable 1. You never played it before.
I just played it for the first time.
And something I think we kind of came to a consensus on is that this game could really use a remake. Like an actual remake, not a reboot, not a Fable 4, nothing like that. An actual full-on, from the ground up remake, expanding on a lot of these ideas and fixing a lot of the game's problems.
There is a lot of bugs. A lot of bugs.
Yeah, and a lot of ideas that were never fully realized.
Inside the hero's mouth, he doesn't even have a texture for most people.
Yeah, sometimes in Fable Anniversary, it's just a white void. There's a lot of stuff like that, but before we hop further into it, I do have a question of the day for you, which is, do you have a favorite Fable game, and what would it be, and why is it Fable The Journey? Let us know in the comments down below.
Mine is Fable Smart Glass. Not even the game attached to it, just going on Smart Glass.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing that it doesn't exist anymore. That's my favorite.
That's the best ever. Best integration they've ever done. So let us know down there, and if you enjoy the video, you want to leave a like, subscribe for more content. That helps us out a lot. And you could stick around to the end of the video to see how to help support our channel more. So Jill, I think something that you pointed out, other than ideas that are not fully realized, which we'll talk about, is the bugs. I mean, there's bugs and glitches pretty much everywhere.
It's Skyrim level.
It's worse.
It's worse than Skyrim level bugs.
Yeah, I mean, even just the armor select when you go on the actual menu and you're trying to look at what armor you're wearing, it almost never actually lines up the preview showing on your character with what you're actually putting on.
For some reason, it just shows a window, like, of the game instead of your character actually wearing the armor. It just shows, like, a random scene of where you are in the game.
One of the bigger problems with the game is just the fact that we had to look so many things up with why the game wasn't progressing on Fable Anniversary.
Yeah, like, we did this quest correctly, why won't it work?
And it usually came down to, there is a bug, reload the game.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Fallout.
Or you have to do this specific thing first, otherwise it doesn't trigger it, even though you shouldn't have to do that one specific thing first.
And the game doesn't tell you to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I think is really rough. I mean, do you have any other bugs you want to mention, specifically?
Mostly the mouth thing, when he opens up his mouth. I saw on Reddit that more people than just us were having that problem where when Hero opens up his mouth, you see, like, no texture, like those, like, checkerboard of having a no texture inside his mouth, and it's really off-putting. It's weird.
Yeah, I think that's... So the glitches are obviously a problem, though, that I think someone could say, well, why don't you just do a remaster and fix it? One, they tried. That's what Fable Anniversary was supposed to be. They still couldn't, so you'd have to remaster it again. But even if you just ignore all the countless bugs in this game, I think it's also frustrating how bare bones parts of the game are compared to what they were supposed to be. Now, I know that when it comes down to it, Peter Molyneux is known for having overpromised a lot of stuff on these games. I actually don't fault him that much for it. I do think that it was something at the time that people held him very in critical regards for, and, you know, rightfully so. When you say that something is going to do something and it doesn't, you're going to get criticism for it. But more than that, just the fact that so many of the mechanics and ideas are unrealized. Like, for example, the core combat.
Yeah, the core combat could be better. I think it's fine, but it definitely could be a lot more intuitive and interactive and enjoyable rather than just mashing X over and over again and then sometimes doing spells.
Right. Well, I think that there's also so many things that you can just exploit for things like infinite combos or infinite XP, or to make it so the enemies don't do anything, like using the physical shield ability on the hero. There's a lot of things like that that you can use to just prevent enemies from doing anything. But then again, at the beginning of the game, when you're playing early on, it feels like you're just getting knocked down over and over and over and over again.
And it can be frustrating, yeah. There's something that really bothers me about this game that I think that would really benefit from a remake is the plot holes. Because there are multiple points in the story where you're just kind of like, what? My first plot hole is the most obvious, and it's the fact that every time you level up, your character gets older, and there's a max level of, like, being age 65. So if you level up all the way before finishing the main story, you become older than your mother and older than your sister, who are both people supposed to be older than you. And nobody mentions that, by the way, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
No.
And then there's another plot hole, and this is just one of some other ones that I've noticed, that when you get out of Bargate Prison, your character has the champion seal still, and basically Jack of Blades says, I've been stalking you through the champion seal this entire time. I can hear and see everything you've done and said. And then your hero just decides to keep it on him, even though he's talking to his mother now about some really important stuff about how they're going to beat up Jack of Blades.
Right, how they're actually going to win.
Yeah, and it's just, we're supposed to assume that Jack of Blades didn't hear that.
Well, I feel like there's pretty much plot hole after plot hole if you actually look at it. I mean, even the way the story is told, because I enjoy the story. I think someone's actually going to go in here and be like, why are you guys criticizing this whole game? I love this game. I grew up with this game. But playing it in recent days, I guess, has kind of opened my eyes to some of the plot holes I did not notice as a young teenager. And also some of the frustrating lack of characterization. So first off, the fact that your character is a static male and there's no changing it, I think is unfortunate, because Fable 2 and 3 don't have that problem. Now, I know you could argue, well, the canon hero was a male. What's the problem with that? You play as Cloud Strife in Final Fantasy, and he's a male. You can't change him to a woman. Yeah, because he has a personality. He actually has a character. The only way to actually see that out of your character, who is just straight-faced, no expression almost the entire game, is to go into the logbook and read the actual well-written logs that are that are explaining the events of the game. And other than that, your character shows no characterization throughout the game. So there's no reason for there to be so little character building. And
here's the thing, the logbook is kind of a hidden menu. So even you, somebody who's played this game 1,010,000 times in their life, didn't even realize there was one until recently.
I forgot about it. I remembered that there was like a logbook that you could go and look at, but to be completely honest, when I was younger, I never actually read through them fully, because I just figured, oh, well, that's just going to be a summary of what happened.
Yeah, it's kind of a minor detail, and that's the only way to get, like, any sort of personality out of your hero. He doesn't have a voice actor. He doesn't have a name. He's literally just called Hey Hero the entire game.
Or the hero of Oakvale.
All you would have to do to change him to be a woman, like if you had the player be able to choose to be a woman in the game, is you just have to record voice lines twice, where they say she instead of he.
Right. That's it.
It's literally not that hard, I feel like, and I feel like there also could have been a lot more customization to your character. You can't change his hair color. There's not very many armor options, in my opinion, especially if you play the good playthrough. Most of the really cool armor options are evilly aligned, and you don't want to wear evil aligned armor if you're going for a good playthrough.
And the only time your hair color is really changing is based on alignment.
Yeah.
It's not something you're doing. It's same with,
or how old you are.
But same with will tattoos. They just appear as you use will powers. It's bizarre to me that there's so many issues with this game in terms of like a game that I believe its tagline, at least in a lot of magazines at the time, was for every choice a consequence. But then it feels like a lot of the things that you should be able to have choices on, you can't.
Yeah, it feels like you don't really have any choices most of the time. I mean,
it's just, are you good or are you evil?
Yeah, that's basically it. And then throughout the entire game, it's actually kind of laughable, your hero's face just being, like, I wish I could show you guys my face as I interpret it. It's literally just looking at a brick wall of a man. Like, there's no lights on in his head.
That's what I was saying earlier with the static face. Yeah, like, it doesn't do much. Well, and I think this kind of ties into the unrealized potential and unrealized ideas of mechanics. For example, the marriage. Mm-hmm. The fact that there's so little mechanics with the romance of the marriage other than, like, well, you can describe what you essentially do to get married.
So basically, you find a girl, any NPC, you flirt.
Or a man.
I guess you could. Yeah, they have to, like, find you attractive first, I think. And then you just flirt with them a ton until their heart above their head gets really big. And then you buy them an engagement ring. And then the same cutscene plays where the guildmaster says, "And so the hero married." And then they like play a little thing around about that, and basically that's it. Then you're married. She has a ring above her head, and then you don't do anything with her after that, other than you guys can go to your house, and if you flirt with her a million more times, then you get a black screen where she like says something a little bit naughty.
Yeah, she moans or something, and it's implied you slept together.
Yeah,
and that's really
it. That's all the mechanics.
Sometimes they'll give you a present. I mean, but out of our playthrough, I think we married 3 or 4 different people, and we only got a present one time out of all those.
Yeah.
It took forever. It was one of the longest achievements to actually get that we got.
And the only unique character you can actually marry is Lady Grey, which is part of the story. And then she doesn't work the same way as normal married NPCs. Like, she won't follow you, and she doesn't like the same kind of gifts and stuff like that.
Overall, I really like this game, and I will be, we'll be talking about some of these faults in more detail, and also some of the things we like more in a full review.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think that there's a lot that could be expanded on in the entirety of the game. And I mean, even when you talked about the plot holes, I know I'm kind of jumping back and forth, but it's a little bit of a more informally structured discussion. When it comes to plot holes, something you pointed out is that for a lot of the story, other than just the logbook, you actually have to go out of your way to get lore. You have to go out of your way to learn things about the world. There's very little that's just told to you, but it's not even just that. You basically have to get into the Lost Chapters portion of the game and start actually talking to an NPC pretty much at the very end of the game in order to start learning about creatures, in order to start learning about the history of Albion. You have to go up and do, these different poses that correspond with what this NPC wants. Yeah, pretty much it's the YMCA poses.
Yeah, I don't get the joke, by the way.
I think it's just supposed to be a dumb joke.
Also, you do get to learn lore from going to that school teacher and giving him random books.
True, yeah, you learn some lore from that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the one actually interactive, interesting, and fluid way to learn lore.
Yeah, but, I thought that was really fun.
When I'm looking at a lot of games, though, now you'll either have codex entries of some kind or a character database, or you'll have, do this challenge and then we'll tell you more lore about this monster that you fought. There's really nothing like that in Fable. And even when there is in the logbook, sometimes it doesn't actually match up with what's going on. Like, for example, there was a whole cutscene with the archaeologist where he talked about hiding in his cave and then running away from Jack of Blades, but then they forgot to actually put some of the information that they ended up writing in the logbook in the cutscene, so that's never actually said in the cutscene.
So the only way to find that out is to read the logbook.
Otherwise, the mission just kind of ends, and you're like, okay, and then the next mission happens when you go seek it out, and there's really no fluidity between the two.
Yeah, because they didn't mention it. It was really oddly structured in that way. So the reason we make this video in the first place is because it seems like there's a new game coming out. It's speculated whether it's a reboot or not. Nobody really knows. It's not for sure. But I think that instead of doing that, they really should be just remaking this game in the original timeline, fixing all of the problems that it has, because it's a really amazing and really fun game that could be expanded on a lot. There could be more places to go. There could be a bigger city. There could be more, wife choosing.
More character customization mechanics. I mean, more customization mechanics in romance, being a male or female, the logbook problems. No, I agree.
The aging problem.
I think that the game is great. Like, I still think it's a really fun game. It's just, it's such a unique RPG world that ends up feeling very flawed because of these issues, which they're not just problems with Anniversary, even though that's what we're going to be showing footage of. They were problems with the original as well. And I think that overall, it's a game that is really fun, really unique, and interesting. It
has a really awesome art style.
Yeah.
That I feel like they're trying to move away from, and I just love the art style of these games, because it's so fun. And I just really want to see that again, but, in a higher resolution and with better graphics.
And a game that's more fleshed out.
Yes, yeah.
And more realized. Because I think Fable 2 is not without its faults. It certainly still has things that are worth critiquing. But in almost every way, Fable 2 is an improvement on this game, which goes to show me that they could have made another game like this with better combat, with all these things fixed.
Yes.
If they just wanted to go back and expand it. And overall, I know that, Jill wanted to talk about the reboot. I didn't at first because I was worried it would date the video, because I'm sure someone will watch this after that new game is out. The problem just is that right now, all we really know is it comes out in 2025. There's not a lot of information about it. And it's literally just named Fable again, which is something I hate and why a lot of people think it'll be a reboot. is because when you usually just rename something, that original thing, it's usually either a soft reboot or a hard reboot. And a lot of the times,
I know a lot of things about soft and hard.
With God of War being an example of a soft reboot, where it's, you know, in the same continuity, but you could jump in there. But I guess my issue with that is, you're either going to have a soft reboot where a lot of people are never going to play those first 3 games. They're going to miss out on all that story and all those interesting things. And they're going to become a new fan with the new game and never go back. Something that bums me out that people continue to do.
Yeah, that happened a lot with Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you say, like, hey, you'd really enjoy the old timeline too, people are like, no, I'm not interested.
I don't care.
And it's like, okay, well, then you're missing out, man. It's fun. But that's something that bums me out. Or it's just going to be a hard reboot when there's all these good ideas already on the table
that need fixing desperately.
And just aren't going to get it.
Yeah.
And it sucks because it's one of, I would say, Xbox and Microsoft's more unique worlds that they've made.
And people to this day are still talking about this game. Every single day I get notifications on Reddit of the r/Fable Anniversary.
I'm worried
Reddit.
They'll find this video.
I am worried about it too.
Because we like this game.
But like people on there are always constantly like jerking off how much they love this game and want more. And I just think that it's so sad that so many people care so much about this game and this franchise that has so many good things about it, and then it just kind of feels like it got dumped.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's a lot you could do. There's a lot that's already good. I stress that for the 50th time, because I know someone will call that out.
And we will do a review detailing all of the things that we love about
it sounded
the
like
game.
you were going to say shitting on it.
We're going to shit on it, too.
No, I really love it. Like, I had so much fun replaying it. It's just, it's really a bummer. There's been very few games since being a kid that I've gone back to that I've been like, wow, I did not notice a lot of faults with this. Fable is one of them.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate to me because I actually did play Fable 2 in recent years, and that one feels like it's aged so much better.
Yeah. You know, the reason we point out the negatives for this is just to mention why it needs a remake so much, not because we actually hate the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not like you'd have to point out all the things it does good for a remake. I mean, just do them again.
Yeah.
They're already good.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the game is already good. So if you enjoyed today's video, you want to leave a like, subscribe for more content, let us know what you think in the comments down below. We appreciate you very, very much. You can use code DJAY123 on Fortnite if you want to help support this channel. I know there might not be a huge crossover, but our channels don't actually make much money at all, so people who do that actually goes to help support us a lot. And we do also have as well a store, cosmobunny.shop, that Jill, my wife, runs, which, Jill, maybe you could tell them a little bit about what we do there.
Hi, I run cosmobunny.shop, and I think it's really cool because I make resin pieces out of recycled comics and recycled manga that we find at stores that couldn't sell it because they were damaged. And I make coasters, keychains, ashtrays, and other such stuff with those. I'm working on light switches right now, actually, which is going to be really fun.
That's been one of the most fun things.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And I also make handmade jewelry on there, which is really cool. So if you want, you can use all caps DJAY123 on my website as well, and you can get 10% off of your order on there. Woo!
And we appreciate you very much. Thank you for watching. We hope you have a fantastic day. And as always, everyone,
stay shway!